When you understand a child's brain, when you understand that the tantrums are not defiance, not manipulation, but they are communication, how your children are not giving you a hard time, but they are having a hard time. Only fundamentally, when I understand this is how my child's brain works, and all this while I've been literally scolding, bashing, bribing, shaming my child just for a biological condition that humans are born with. And as a parent, you really need to know that it's not difficult. In fact, it's a very joyous journey to raise children and to raise emotionally resilient children. In today's day and age, along with academic intelligence, emotional intelligence has to weigh equally. It cannot be a side subject. Right? Because research shows that children who are emotionally intelligent from childhood, if they are taught empathy, boundaries, if they are made to sit with difficult feelings, feel difficult emotions, don't just rub them off, don't just surpass them.
I mean, let me tell you that as adults, we're all in this together. There are so many things that we need to unlearn from our childhood. We are taught to be people pleasers, we don't know how to say no, we don't know how to draw boundaries. And every time you meet a therapist, you hear, the reason for all your problems is childhood trauma. Right. So how do we as adults make sure that we are raising strong, resilient individuals who do not need any fixing when they grow up? Hi guys, welcome back to Take 20. Today I'm joined by Shweta Gandhi. Shweta is a trusted child psychologist by thousands of parents in India. She believes that every child is unique and every stage of parenting comes with its own set of joys and challenges. Her approach teaches parents to really understand the world of a child and to navigate even the trickiest moments with empathy and knowledge, not fear and confusion. Now, let's be honest, my own experience in this particular subject is very, very limited. It's limited to just running ACOM, an early learning center that I co-founded with my friends Shilpa and Mukta, as well as being the cool aunt to my closest friends' kids. But to truly speak about the challenges that you face every day, I actually sought help from the experts, you, my parents in the audience. And every question that I'm going to be asking Shweta today has actually come from you. So thank you for that. And let's get started.
Yes.
Hi, Shweta.
Absolutely. Hello.
Thank you for being here.
It's an honor, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege to be on this prestigious platform.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did this start?
So, I started Happy Minds, the company that I run, the school that I run, with 3 students in my house. And when I was pregnant, I studied child psychology in USA. And that's when I got so intrigued to study about child brain. And when I saw my son Agastya growing and his tantrums, it really, got me to learn deep into how a child brain really works. And that's where I started learning more about it, researching, taking more courses, doing my NLP, subconscious mind certifications. And all the knowledge of 13 years that, came together, and I started writing, creating, and I started applying everything that I learned in my own home, in my own school. And I saw how it worked wonders when you understand a child's brain, when you understand that the tantrums are not defiance, not manipulation, but they are communication. How your children are not giving you a hard time, but they are having a hard time. All of it came together, and I started teaching people about it. It made so much sense, and it added so much value to how they were looking at their children and how they were dealing with their children on daily basis.
Yeah, it's lovely that, we are able to get this kind of education now online. I think our parents, they were just winging it, weren't
Oh,
they?
absolutely.
They had no idea. They're like, every day is a new day. Let's just figure it out as it
Let's
comes.
just figure it out. And, also they still tell me, my mom tells me, you know what, we did a good job. Look at you.
Look at you. Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
like, but mom, that does not mean that it was the right way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There is science to it.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not just, you go by your instincts.
Yeah, I mean, in the same family, kids can turn out completely differently,
Different.
right? Like, so, yeah, I completely understand. So let's get to it. Most of these questions are from the parents, right?
Absolutely,
So the first question is about toddlers. In the first 2 years, the child really clings to the parent, dependent upon the parent for everything, and then suddenly overnight a personality is developed. They are little people, and I've noticed some of my closest friends who are new parents, and they suddenly are so stressed.
Absolutely.
And they call it the terrible twos, is it?
Terrible twos.
What is it about?
Yes.
What's going on
Okay.
in a toddler's mind?
So from the time you're pregnant, your baby's brain is already grown, right, in the womb. When your baby is born, doctor hands over the baby in your hand. At that point of time, your baby's brain has 86 billion neurons. 86 billion neurons, which are waiting to be connected to each other, which we call as neural connections. With each love, lullaby, the feed, the care, the synapses are growing, the connections are being formed. The more positive environment my child is getting in the house, the more love, the more care my child is getting, these connections are forming very positively. So much so that by the time my child is 2 years old, in 1 second, 1 million neural connections are forming each second. Coming back to your question, terrible twos. Suddenly, what's happening? Suddenly, the neural connections are exploding. Their brain is growing at a pace which a child cannot really process. It's growing at that pace because in 0 to 5 years, 90% of my brain in volume it grows. The neural connections are happening at a speed which is the fastest in their entire lifetime in 0 to 5 years. And our brain is growing from bottom up. What do we mean by this? And this is the most fundamental thing that I want all the parents to understand. Let's understand our brain, the brain stem, right? The survival stem, which we call is the survival center of the brain, which controls the heart rate, the digestion, the blood flow in the body. That develops from the time I'm born, right? All of that is primarily developed. Number two in the development is the emotional brain. Emotional brain, which develops my feelings, my emotions, which helps me understand all of my feelings, helps me feel all of my feelings. The emotional brain grows in 0 to 2 years. And top floor, which is the thinking brain, which takes care of my decision making, problem solving, impulse controls, planning, starts growing only by 6 years. And it grows till 25 years. So, when my child is overwhelmed, he is having these emotions that, for example, Agastya asked for a blue cup, but I gave him a green cup. His brain, his amygdala, the emotional brain, registers this as panic, overwhelm. How do I deal with this? I don't know how to deal with this. Because his thinking brain is offline,
So
is not
it's not
developed at
developed.
all. And to explain this even simpler, let's take this hand brain rule. This is my brain, okay? This over here, let's say, is the emotional brain. Okay, this goes inside like this, and this is my thinking brain. This prefrontal cortex, thinking brain. This is the emotional brain. And this is the brain stem, which connects my brain to the body,
Okay.
the spinal cord. Now, when I see it like this, when my child is having a tantrum, instead of blue cup, he gets a green cup. What happens is that my emotional brain hijacks my thinking brain. My thinking brain is offline. This is hijacked. And in that case, when my mama is shouting on me, you don't get it. How many times do I explain you? You just don't get it. You're a bad boy. You're manipulative. You're just doing drama. The emotional brain is again fire alarm. What do? I can't regulate myself. So, what is happening? This brain is panicking. Emotional brain is panicking. It's literally fireworks in my brain. Mama, please help me. Mama, I don't know how to regulate myself. Mama, please help me co regulate.
So how do you soothe your child at that?
As a parent, the science is called co regulation, where my child needs me as his anchor. My child needs to borrow my calm to calm him down. because he cannot, his function, the impulse controls, thinking brain is not fully developed. So there's this science to co-regulation. When I go down to my child's level, when I meet him in the eye, when I give him a gentle touch, when I validate, yes, but I understand you want the blue cup, I validate, I acknowledge. And what we do is name it to tame it. We label the emotion, because when you label, Agastya, right now what you're feeling is frustration. Right now what you're feeling is jealousy. Right now what you're feeling is tiredness. Right now what you're feeling is hunger. So when my brain, when my emotional brain has labels to what I'm feeling, this brain will calm down. Emotional brain will be like, okay, I'm in a familiar territory. This is frustration. I've been frustrated before, and it's okay to be frustrated. So this is a familiar territory. It's not an overwhelmed situation. It's not an alarm. I don't need a fire brigade, because we've been frustrated, and there are steps to control our frustration. Right? So when, as a parent, I name it to tame it, when I name it, Agastya, you're feeling frustrated, and Mama also feels frustrated. And when I feel frustrated, what I do is smell the flower, blow the candle. Smell the flower, blow the candle. Or we do the bubbles. This is what we do when we are frustrated. So my child now has the steps that, okay, now what I'm feeling, frustrated. Frustrated means these are the steps to control my frustration. And that is how my emotional brain finds its way back to its place. And eventually my thinking brain comes online. And now my brain is in the green zone. When my emotional brain has hijacked my thinking brain, that's a red zone. And in the red zone, if you're trying to lecture me, if you're trying to tell me, oh, don't do this, just shut up, you're enough of this, I'm done with you.
Yeah, what happens then?
My brain is still going to be in a red zone. I'm going to throw even more tantrums because I don't know how to calm down. Help me, mama. I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm having a hard time. I'm not hardwired to self regulate. At this point, I need co-regulation. And most of the parents miss this point, that I need to co-regulate my child. I need to be my child's calm anchor. My child cannot calm himself down. He needs to borrow my calmness. Right? And hence it is so important as a parent how I conduct myself when there is a tantrum. And most of the times what we see is when a child is throwing a tantrum,
Even bigger tantrum.
is thrown by the parent.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't know who I am. How dare you talk to me like that? Right?
Right.
But it's not helping my child. And only fundamentally when I understand, oh damn, this is how my child's brain works. And all this while, I've been literally bashing my child left, right, and center just for a biological flaw or a biological condition that humans are born with. For that, I'm literally scolding, bashing, bribing, shaming my child.
Right.
Right. And as a parent, you really need to know that if I want to make my child emotionally resilient,
Right.
and as a parent, 0 to 7 years is my biggest window to program my child's subconscious mind.
Now, the next stage where, a parent has to send a child into the outside world for the first time, school,
Correct.
and that separation anxiety. What's going through a toddler's mind? Like, what is that feeling? Because I've also seen when parents drop off their kids at school, they are so stressed themselves,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they are transferring that stress onto the
Absolutely.
child. And so I don't know who's helping whom when I'm watching this. So how can they deal with this phase better?
Let's understand it is very natural. It's an evolutionary instinct for us to feel attached to our caregivers, right? And that little bit of separation is going to create anxiety, right? All I need to do, trust is the institute where my child is going. I need to trust that my child is in the safe hands, and I need to be a very calm role model to my child, because if my child sees me stressed out, my child is directly taking cues from me. How do I need to feel in this situation? For example, this cup spills right now over here, and if I panic, my child is going to panic. But if I stay calm about it, my child thinks that, oh, this is okay, it's solvable. So everything that you as a parent are, as I said, parenting reveals who you are. The messiest, ugliest, rawest part of you comes out. Right? And in that point, it really matters who you truly are. And for that, you really need to upgrade yourself in your mindset, in your character, because these little humans are taking cues from you, right? So it's very simple. The separation anxiety is normal. It's just that it's a happy thing that your child feels connected to you, your child feels safe around you, and your child is aware. Hence, they're feeling this. So it's a good developmental milestone for the brain. But also understand that it's just a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. Because in my child, there has to be a circuit. My mama drops me, my mama comes to pick me. And in this process, I'm going to be safe, I'm going to play with my friends. And it takes 2 to 3 weeks for a child's brain to form that circuit of assurance that I'm safe. Once they start feeling safe, there's no separation anxiety. So
Right.
it's the anxiety is just for a child's brain to know, am I safe in this environment? Is this okay for me? And once they start feeling that, they're going to be okay. And for that, there are certain rituals that parents could do. For example, when both of my children, they go to my school. So I give them my heart at the door that, Agastya, take my heart. Please take care of my heart. Be kind to everyone and have lots of fun. And he gives me his heart that, mama, take my heart and keep my heart with you. So this is a little goodbye ritual that we have. Then when I meet my daughter when she's back from the school, I go down to her level, give her a big hug. Hi, bestie. So that's, she knows that this is our reconnection ritual.
Right.
So those little things, it takes a very deep seat in their subconscious mind that these are the little things but most valuable things for a child's brain. So what we have is, we call the golden triangle in child brain science. We call it golden triangle: sleep, food, and rituals. These three things, if a parent is taking care of, all the other things you don't have to really micromanage. The golden triangle you strongly have to manage, which is food, sleep, and rituals. Let us start with food, right? Because most of the children are picky eaters and they always want to watch television and eat, or mama is feeding. So let's understand, when my child is 2 years old, he's undergoing this phase called neophobia. What is neophobia? Is I am alarmed or I have phobia to new textures or new food. So it is very common for children to
Interesting.
averse from new foods. They will reject. And scientifically, my brain needs 30 encounters 30 encounters for my brain to register a taste. So what happens is that if I'm giving my child spinach, and you know what, एक बार खिलाया, 2 बार खिलाया, नहीं खा रहा है, हमसे तो नहीं होगा ये, and then we give up. But my brain wants 30 encounters because my brain is so immature. It cannot just take it. It's not so developed like an adult brain that once we eat it and we register that taste.
Right.
For taste and texture both. Texture is also a very big trick for the kids because they've had purees when in 0 to 1 years, and then suddenly there's some coarse texture coming in my mouth. They are going to reject. Children in their brain have synaptic pruning. Pruning is in 0 to 5 years, they have lot of connections, neural connections, taste connections also in their brain that have developed. But after 5 years, these connections
Oh,
get
so you're saying the
pruned off.
taste connections
Yeah.
are also developing.
Are also developed. of
Okay,
course,
okay.
Right? When you eat something, when you eat, for example, a pizza, then that neural connection gets activated. That okay, this is pizza, and
Okay.
right? And when you eat something new, the brain is forming that connection. What is this smell? What is this texture? What is this taste? Right? So it's forming the connection. Now, after 6 years, a lot of these connections are being pruned off. They are being cut off. So that's where my child also gets a lot of new food acceptance.
Okay.
Because whatever the reservations I had for my taste and for my texture, they're being pruned off. So I'm more open to newer foods.
Okay.
So the key is be consistent in introducing new food to the kids. They will reject, and you don't have to take it too hard. It's not your failure.
Right.
Just keep introducing. Also, lot of parents during meal times, what they do is TV. They will start that, child is engaged in TV. What is happening when my child is watching TV? His brain is constantly getting the dopamine rush. My child is not addicted to TV. My child is addicted to the dopamine rush that I'm getting when I'm watching the TV. So, what I want is not TV. What I want is
The
the
dopamine
dopamine.
rush. Yeah.
Right? That I want.
Right.
And now I'm so addicted to this. My prefrontal cortex is so less developed, is so immature that I cannot control. I don't know how to stop.
Right.
I want to stop, but I can't stop. I can't stop watching TV because I just love this rush.
Right.
And what happens is that when I'm feeding my child with the TV, my child's awareness of what food it is, how it tastes, am I full, all of that is being shut down because my focus, my brain is only focusing on that dopamine. So the joy that I should get while eating my food, for example, I love dal chawal and ghee. The joy I get when I eat that, my child is not able to experience the joy of food because his brain is constantly engaged in the joy of dopamine that I'm getting from TV.
Right.
Right? So my association with food I'm not able to build. What is my relationship with my food? What am I eating? What is the texture of it? How does this taste? How much do I chew this? My satiety, do I feel full? I don't get it only. Mama ने 2 रोटी इतना प्लेट है, इतना खाना, इतना खिला दिया. I don't know if I'm hungry, if I'm full. I don't know.
If you're introducing a new food, how long should you give it before you give up on it?
So basically, the simple rule is you sit on the family table, you engage your child. For example, if I'm making a beetroot spinach tikki, I will make sure that my child is involved in, cleaning the spinach, or this is beetroot. I'm going to put some blush with the beetroot on my cheeks, on my daughters, so that they're engaged in the process of making. That engagement builds that relationship with the food. Rather than just serving them, okay, khana taiyar hai, chalo kha lo. Involve them, engage them. So they're closely associated with food. Right? Number 2 is that I be an example to my child that we are all eating without phone, without TV, at a family table. We are talking about food. We are talking about what happened in my day, in your day, right? So make it engaging, make it a family environment, a ritual that we all come together for dinners. I also make sure that my child is, in the process of eating the food, he may reject, but it is okay. Next time we'll have. Don't force your child because force feeding, it just creates anxiety in my child and rejection is more prone. Right? Make it a happy thing. You don't want to eat, it's okay, bacha. You know what? I'm introducing new food, but my basic, what is there, what my child likes is there. So उसको रहने दो. But new food हम introduce करते रहे, धीरे धीरे बच्चा adapt करेगा. Because what is आपका घर का जो एनवायरनमेंट है, आपका घर का जो फूड कल्चर है, वो बच्चा अडेप्ट करने ही वाला है. एंड मेक फैमिली टाइम, डिनर टाइम अ लिटिल फन फॉर चिल्ड्रन, राइट? वेयर my bacha may not like to eat paratha, but if I cut it into star shape, he's so fond of cars. If I cut it into a car shape, he will love it.
So find ways to make it interesting.
Ways. Make it engaging, interesting, make it kid friendly. उनका plating थोड़ा interesting करो. And sit with them. Give them 20-25 minutes window. This is हम इतना खाएंगे, इतना time में खाएंगे. You don't have to sit with them for
hours
1 hour.
Yeah.
And you have to keep feeding your child. And you have to trust your child's instinct. Our problem is हम food को लेके ना बहुत ज़्यादा sentimental हो जाते हैं. If मेरे बच्चे ने खाया नहीं, I get so sad. It is okay. They are going to come to food.
Right.
And we really need to do less parenting when it comes to food. हम ओवर पेरेंटिंग करते हैं ना, उसमें बच्चा फूड के साथ
You know India and food, right?
Yeah,
Sentiment
right. Yeah.
and
yeah. अगर नहीं, मम्मा is still ready to let go. दादी आके बोलेगी अरे मेरे बच्चे ने खाया नहीं, चल चिप्स खा ले,
right.
चॉकलेट खा ले. So all of this is also creating lot of mixed, confused cues in my child's brain. So food के टाइम पे no distraction, one simple rule, घर पे जो बना है वो खाना है, खुद खाना है, टीवी के बिना खाना है, और जितना खाना है खाना.
I think anything you say is going back to that golden principle of the emotion and thinking. I think that everything that you're saying goes back to this. Every time this comes out, it's red flag. needs to go back in, right? Like, so I think with food, the same thing applies with food, with tantrums. I think
Food
with
will-
sleep as well, right?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Like,
We're going to talk about sleep. So basically, with food, when I'm not having a positive association with food, I'm not going to like to eat food. But parents are not helping children to build that positive association.
Right.
All I want to do is my बच्चा का nutrition इतना खाना ही चाहिए इतना खाना है. But it's not one meal में nutrition. Just take a big window of weekly nutrition. In entire week, did my child eat variety of food? Is the nutritional window in the week being taken care of? It's okay. There will be certain weeks where your child will eat only white foods, which is bread, rice, idli, only that. They will not like to eat colors, that is
Right.
carrot, cucumber, or beetroot, or spinach. They may not like, but it is my job to make sure that my child's plate is full of colors and let my child decide what he wants to eat. I keep encouraging, I keep being consistent, and I keep make sure that he has positive relationship with food, and I let him lead. You decide, बच्चा, how much you want to eat. हम क्या करते हैं? One last bite for dada, one last bite for mama.
Right.
This is कहानी घर घर की. Every household this happens.
Right.
Sometimes I am in that loop, and then I remind myself, Shweta, don't do this. Let him decide. And that's where I stop myself, I step back. That, you know what? My bacha is intelligent enough to decide his hunger cues and let him decide. But having said that, I also tell him that don't come back to me after 2 hours at mama, I'm
hungry,
because that's not going to happen. Right? So you eat as much as you want to eat now. Now tomorrow my child remembers, बाद में नहीं मिलेगा, अभी खा लो. This is my eating window. Right? Because late food eating is digestion, gut, all of those problems. You can't sleep well. So we have our window.
Right.
7 to 7:30 is our dinner time. And that's it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
And sleep. You are
Yeah.
going to sleep.
okay. So now,
You know, wherever I go out, I see, like, especially when they're younger kids, they're everywhere. And I'm wondering, like, isn't this
Why
your
aren't you in your
sleep
bed?
time? Why aren't you in your bed? Why are you with mom and dad at a party, right?
Right,
Like, what is your take on that?
okay. So one of the pillars of a child brain growth is sleep. Sleep is as important as nutrition is. And let me tell you, 70% of my growth hormone is released when I am asleep, especially in 0 to 7 years. Most of the parents don't know this. That my child's
Is
brain
growing.
actually grows when he sleeps. And that cycle of deep sleep, I need to experience it every single night at a consistent time. And I'm not saying that you have to be very rigid that 9 p.m. is the bedtime. No, but there has to be a rhythm. There don't have to be rules. There have to be a rhythm. For example,
So will rituals help at that point of time?
absolutely.
Cues.
And yes, so we have this very beautiful ritual which I have learned over the time, and it works beautifully in my family. So by 7, we all are back from our work. Kids are back from their classes, from sports. I'm back from my office. 7 o'clock, we all come back home, and we have family dinners. Where family dinners, all 4 of us are sitting together. We're talking about our day. I will throw random questions at Agastya. Eggsy, you know what? This friend of mine, no, she ignored me at the party, and I'm feeling so sad. What do I do? So I'll tell you where I'm going with this is that, Mama, how dare she do that? Give me her number. I'll talk to her. How did you do this to my mama? But bacha, we can't call anyone and scold like that, no? Right. So, Mama, why don't you start playing with other friends then? That's a good idea. I should start playing with other friends, no, if somebody ignores me. Okay, bacha. Now, I already know this, but tomorrow when my child goes to school and somebody does that to him, he already knows the script in his mind. What do? We start
find
playing with
another-
others. We don't fret over small things. Now, these are the little things we speak over dinner tables where I'm building his emotional intelligence by asking him questions. Eggsy, you know what? When I'm playing football, but if I'm not able to score a goal, I get really upset. But Mama, you can't score a goal every time, no? It happens only few times, and you have to celebrate that. So it's okay sometimes if I lose. Of course, Mama, it's okay if you lose. Well, I know it, now you know it. It's
Right.
okay to lose.
Right.
So talking like these is actually injecting a lot of neural wires in my brain that it's okay to lose, it's okay when people ignore, you find your way out, we should let go, be resilient, keep trying, never give up. all of these lessons my child is learning by counseling me.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we're talking about how our days were, what was the happiest thing that happened to you in the day. My heart was with you. Did you take care of my heart? Did my heart break? Because when you hit your friend or when you speak unkind to your friends, my heart breaks. Did my heart break today? हाँ मम्मा, once your heart broke today.
Oh,
पर मम्मा उसने मुझे पहले मारा था, फिर मैंने भी उसको मार दिया.
right.
Okay. So then we talk about those things. So these little rituals in the family, it really is like a soft thread that binds us, that builds my emotional intelligence, that builds my thinking brain, and it is doing so much to your family at a soft level. Which, big things, when we see, oh, big vacations, flashy things, those could never do what little things can do in your family. So having family dinners, and then we have dear time. DEAR, dear time is drop everything and reconnect. Where we put our phones off, everyone, no TV, no distractions, all four of us. Our phones we have a phone kit. We put it in that. And some days we are literally running around the house. We four of us are, running behind each other. We're playing football, pillow fighting, or we'll play the music, we're dancing, or I'm always the one who's being silly, goofy, and my children are laughing. And those are the core memories, right?
Right.
That's their childhood definition. So we have this dear time, then we have our shower time. I'll put both my children together because that's their bonding time. They'll be in the tub and I'll do a storytelling on something that I know that, what, ये मुझे बच्चे को सिखाना है. So maybe on sibling bonding, or maybe on trust, on friendship, on honesty, we have storytelling time. And I've made this really cute sleep passports for my children, sleep passports. And they love to play around it, where dinner done, tick. So we'll give the stamps.
Right.
Dinner is done, stamp, then story time, bath, pajamas are done, and then before half an hour before the sleep time, it's almost 9:30 and we are in bed now. This is the golden window to reprogram or to program my child's subconscious mind, because their brain is in the theta brainwave. What is theta brainwave? 0 to 2 years, my child's brain is in delta brainwave. Delta brainwave is almost deep sleep kind of brainwave. Everything is like a strong imprint on their brains. 2 to 7 years is the theta brainwave, where it is highly absorbent, where their thinking brain is also a little active, and emotional brain is also active, and subconscious mind is also highly receptive. So this is the golden time where how I talk to my child, the words that I use in my house, my tone, my silence, the way I talk to the staff, the way I breathe becomes their DNA, becomes their guiding anchor for life. So maximum use karna hai, where I will tell my son, imagine you are like, you're 20-year-old and you're tall and handsome and you're playing football and I've come to watch a football match. Mama, you think I'll be able to kick goals like Ronaldo? Of course, bacha, you will be. What's the doubt in that? But you just have to listen to what mama is telling in terms of your food. You have to take care of food and sleep. So, mama, then I'll not eat junk food. No, bacha, 20% junk food is okay. 80% you just have to make sure that you eat. Okay, mama. So, raat ko visualize, because that's what is going, the images are going in their subconscious mind. Before sleeping, we do affirmations. You are intelligent, you are kind, you are helpful, you help your friends, you're very helpful to all your staff, and you're helping everyone around you. You're good in your studies, you focus so much, you love your school. So when we are saying all of this, because their subconscious mind is so receptive, it simply makes an imprint. And day after day, when you keep doing this, you see this is taking a big shape in their brain, in their character.
So, moving on to the next phase, which is the tweens, 6 to 12 years. I think this is where a personality is being developed. They are finding themselves in school, there are
Right.
friends, there's now navigating the social ups and downs
Absolutely.
of friendships, and also self esteem is in play now. So, what should parents be prepared for during this phase?
So now let us understand the golden rule stays the same from 0 till 18 years.
Right.
What's the golden rule? Their prefrontal cortex, thinking brain, is immature, is underdeveloped, emotional brain, hyperactive, overtly sensitive, and they feel everything very deeply. And in that process, as a parent, I need to stay with my child. I cannot calm the storm, but I'll just stay with them during the storm, be their safe net, that they know that I'm here for you. Listen, children in today's day and age, Samantha, I know I have 600 children in my school.
Right.
Each of the child is so damn smart,
Right.
right?
Smarter than we were.
Smart. Oh,
So much smarter.
so much smarter, and
Because
not
of the
just,
exposure?
and not just logically, even emotionally. Right? They're much smarter, and they feel everything very deeply. Now, as a parent, I really need to just tell my child that I'm here for you, and I need to just be a steady source of inspiration, motivation, guidance for my child. I cannot like micromanage my child anymore. What I used to do in 0 to 5 years, where I would micromanage my child, eat your food or change your panties or wear your this, do this, not anymore. So I also have to change my mindset.
Right.
Lot of parents, what they think is, मेरा बच्चा 2 साल का जो था 12 साल का है, तब भी मुझे वही करना है, because as a parent my job is that. No, you need to evolve your parenting. You need to change your parenting now.
Right.
Because it's a tween brain. Tween brain feels deeply. They cannot take a lot of instruction, otherwise selective listening is happening. I don't listen to you, mama constantly keeps on, I don't listen to you.
Right.
And the golden principle that I follow in my house is practice, don't preach. What I want to teach my child, I practice it in terms of fitness, in terms of nutrition, in terms of sleep. I sleep by 9:30. My children will sleep by 9:30. Right? I go to the gym every day. I eat clean food every single day. In my behavior, in my ethic, in my conduct with anybody around me, I'm fairly an ethical person, which is what my children will see. Right? So practice, don't preach. Inspire, don't impose. I'm eating my vegetables. You don't want to eat? It's fine. I'm going to eat my vegetables joyfully in front of you.
You know, because you always hear parents nagging. And instead, if I saw them as an example, I would not resist.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
So
interesting.
constant nagging, don't do this, don't do that.
Do your homework, do this, do
No,
that.
no. A lot of selective listening is happening, and so there's this movement that I started 2 years back, and I'm like a mission. I'm spreading this, across the globe. Is connection before correction. And what I mean by connection before correction is that don't just keep on correcting your child, do this, do that, don't do this. Just connect with your child with little rituals, with little micro joys in the day. I don't need to be on my hovering over my child's head every single minute of the day. Children don't like that. But micro joys. After he's coming back from school, just 5 minutes of I missed you, and not even asking what did you do in your school. I missed you. I did this. I was missing you when I did this. And if my child feels like it, he will share. Mama, I did this in school. I just do my bit by sharing what I did. If you want to share, you share. I'm all ears. If you don't want to, I'm not gonna ask or nag you with it. Right? So connections in micro joys in the day, and once you have a very strong connection with your child, you will not have the room for correction because your child gets you. So my child is asking for connection over correction. My child is asking for respect over rules. My child is asking for love over lectures. My child is asking for repairs over rigidity.
Right. Right.
Can you offer me that, please? That is what is the fuel for my brain.
Right.
And all of these generational conditioning that दादी ने ऐसा किया था, नानी ने ऐसा किया था, हम मार देते हैं, बच्चों को बाथरूम में बंद कर दो, ऐसे ही होता है, 2-4 जब तक लगाएंगे नहीं तब तक ठीक नहीं होगा. Those are all outdated scripts.
But what is the balance? You know, say I want to listen to my child and I want to validate all of their emotions. But sometimes I also see by validating every single emotion, this child ends up not being resilient or not getting their way all the time,
Right.
becoming spoiled, becoming a little brat. I'm sorry.
No.
And, so what is the balance between giving a child that self esteem where the child is not a wallflower or not a brat, but a balanced child?
Boundaries.
Boundaries, right.
So we're talking about boundaries, right? That to raise emotionally resilient children, one of the best things that parents could do is have boundaries. Let your child experience big feelings, big emotions. You sit with that storm. You tell them that I am with you, but these are the rules. This is how it works. So, what is happening is most of the cases, parents are being either over permissive. Permissive parenting is happening where I just allow my children a lot of things. Why? Because I don't want to get into that tantrum, that negotiation, that, oh, you know what, just keeping my work easy because I'm so busy. You know what, you want iPad? Go ahead. You
Right.
want to go out? Go ahead. Why? Because I just want peace or I want my child not to throw tantrum. But when we have boundaries, when we have rules, rituals, or basic family framework in place, that this is how this family works in terms of night outs, in terms of if we want to go somewhere out or we want to have video game in our house. So what is your family framework? Now let's understand. I always tell this that raising your family is like running a company, right? Your company has a vision. Does your family have a vision? Where is this company heading? What are the core values, ethos of this company? Family ethos kya hai? What are the frameworks of this company, that this is how this company works, this is how this family works, these are the ethos of this family. And we every Sunday, we all four of us, we come back where we talk about Gandhi family ethos, that these are. And when children are raised with that kind of vision that this is where I come from, these are our ethos, these are our values, this is our mission, this is our vision, that's where children get it that okay, you know what, I am seeing this a bigger picture. And वो bigger picture achieve करने के लिए all the petty things that I'm doing, why my mom is saying no for this, what is the reasoning, what is the logic. And 6 years onwards my prefrontal cortex starts developing, so I get logic, my brain's concrete thinking starts developing,
Right.
where I can actually, when you explain some logic reasoning to me, I get it. So explain it to me, and in a very fun way, in a family framework way. When I say family vision board, it is such a beautiful exercise where what father brings to the table, what mama brings in the family, what bacha is doing, what are our values, what is it that we are aiming for, how do we want to contribute to this world, how do we speak with our staff, how do we deal with our friends, all of those has to be written down. It's like a family constitution,
Yeah, this is beautiful.
right? And see, all of this clarity, it only comes with awareness. What is the first step to emotional intelligence?
Yeah.
It's awareness. For a parent, and because I know this, because I'm in this industry in child brain science since 13 years, I know this.
Right.
And I implement this in my family, in the online courses that I take. I tell this to, and it has helped millions of families.
Right.
And when you have such family vision board in place, it really works so well. And children are also so beautifully attuned, aligned to what you say, what you feel, how you conduct yourself. But a lot of families, they don't, they just wake up
Yeah.
and they're lazy, they're running out of energy, they are doom scrolling.
I don't think people really think of having a family as you go for a job interview, you get a job. There's no such thing as you are good enough to be a parent, and that's why you become a parent.
Yeah,
You just
you just
you
do it
just
because
do
it's
it
an-
because it's
an
just a
evolutionary-
box to tick off, and you don't even know if you've not done the prep, you've not prepared yourself in the right way to be a parent. And I think the first mistake lies there,
Absolutely.
right?
It's not difficult. In fact, it's a very joyous journey to raise children and to raise emotionally resilient children. And all of the work that we do in 0 to 12 years, it is going to translate into what kind of adults they become, right? This is not just, It's helping them today. If I'm being kind to my son today, it's not helping him today. It is becoming his blueprint for entire life.
Right.
Right? We say in today's day and age, along with academic intelligence, emotional intelligence has to weigh equally. It cannot be your side subject.
Right.
It has to be an equally important subject, because research shows that children who are emotionally intelligent from the childhood, if they are taught empathy, boundaries, if they are made to sit with difficult feelings, feel difficult emotions, don't just rub them off, don't just surpass them.
Yeah, let me tell you that as adults, we're all in this together. We realize that we are broken.
We're broken.
And there are so many things that we need to unlearn from our childhood. We are taught to be people pleasers. We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to draw boundaries. And every time you meet a therapist, you hear, the reason for all your problems is childhood trauma. Right. So how do we as adults, as parents, make sure we are not raising another generation of traumatized individuals? How do we make sure that we are raising strong, resilient individuals who do not need any fixing when they grow up?
Well, I think it all starts with us being that level of having that awareness, having that intelligence, living, embodying those values ourselves first. And when we do that, we are going to see, it all starts with us. When I embody a character, my house, my energies is going to get that. My children are going to get those kind of energies, get that kind of value system. But as adult, if I'm broken, I cannot raise strong children. It all starts with you. If I want to raise whole child, I have to be whole first. I cannot pour from an empty cup. I
So
have
do
to
you
be full.
suggest parents get help themselves?
Absolutely. Parents get help, and a lot of parents think that, oh, reading a book or taking some course or watching a podcast, you know what, it does not help. But trust me, it helps. Every bit of it helps. I'm always in my car when I'm driving listening to a podcast. And
Right.
I've heard so many Take 20 podcasts. It helps. And all of this is my journey of evolution. If I want to grow, I have to seek knowledge from credible platforms.
Absolutely. For all of the ill effects of social media, there is also a side of social media that is incredibly enriching. I've found
Yeah.
all my mentors, all my teachers on social media.
Yeah.
Like I would never have had access to them because they're completely on the other side
Absolutely,
of the world. But podcast can be incredibly
Enriching,
educational.
educational.
Right? Like everything that I've heard from you today is new to me and is surprising to me and is so interesting to me, and it all makes so much sense in the most simplest way.
Way,
Right? Now coming to teens, oh my god.
No.
Parents, I feel for you. I feel for you. Teens, how to not be in constant conflict with your child when they are teenagers, how to protect them but still give them privacy, how to not be the enemy. This is
So
very
let's-
the
let-
trickiest part, right?
So let's not aim for being the perfect parent, because
Right.
that's not going to happen.
Not
Your
gonna
child is
happen.
going to
Gonna
hate
hate
you for sure.
Correct.
And you got to be okay with that. Now let us understand scientifically what is happening in their brain. Number one, coming back. We understand this?
Right.
The thinking brain still under process, still
Yeah.
underdeveloped till 25 years.
Right.
This is still immature. My emotional brain is hyperactive, hypersensitive, more sensitive than ever
In the
their
teen?
life. Yes.
During their
More-
teens?
More sensitive than
Why?
ever.
Why?
ever.
I thought they were calming down.
No. No. So they are the most, and it's just how their brain grows.
Right.
The amygdala, the limbic system is hyperactive, hypersensitive.
So they're constantly learning, they're absorbing, they
And also in their brain, dopamine rush is a lot more than it's there in any part of their childhood.
I recently saw this video. Have you watched this video where a child at the dinner table, their phone is taken away, and she gets up and she throws
Yeah, the plate over-
the
yeah,
plate on
yeah.
the parent
Yeah, yeah.
and starts screaming in a
Yep.
way that she almost looked possessed. What is going on in her mind?
Yeah.
Help me understand.
So A, we know this. B, dopamine rush. There's so much of dopamine rush that they constantly want thrill. They get bored with normal activities like reading or walking. Their brains get bored with it. It's their need for the dopamine. They want that thrill. Number three, around their friends, around their peers, they're hypersensitive, meaning they want to make sense of themselves to their friends the most.
Right. They want to be accepted by their friends,
Yes,
by their peers.
They want to be accepted. Anything goes wrong, it's the end of the world for them. And truly, their brains are wired in such a way that it's end of the world for them.
Right.
And you just need to empathize because it's not them, it's their brain. Their brain is literally, their entire nervous system is overspiked.
Right.
You cannot calm them down. They cannot calm themselves down. All you can do is be their steady boat that whenever things go wrong, I'm here for you. Respectfully, by giving them space, by allowing them to do things that they want because they are also craving autonomy. They want independence. You cannot tell me what to do. I will do what I want to do. All I can do is be your guide. Bacha, be safe. Okay, you want to do this? All right.
It must be so hard, right,
It
for
is.
parents
And
to
to
like
let go.
To let go. How does a
Yes.
parent let go, especially when this world and social media is just filled
Yeah.
with red flags,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How do you let go? This one I think is for the parents. How does a parent let go of that?
And also why it's very difficult is because from 2 years till 6 years, those
Yeah.
until 6-7 years, your brain was conditioned to be overprotective, to micromanage. Now suddenly I have to step back. Suddenly I have to let them be. Suddenly their identities are developing. And all of this in the span of 15 years, I have to keep changing, switching my roles so quickly. My God, it's so difficult for me as a parent.
Right. Especially when a mother, right, she has given up her identity and now she identifies as a mother.
As a mother only.
Only.
Yeah. that's
Right?
scary.
And now she has to give her child space,
Space.
and now even she's kind of going through her own set of problems because now what does she identify as?
Yes.
She does not have a job. She probably also has a long time away from work, so the world has moved on and she hasn't caught up with going back to work, and now she's also at a loss of identity of being a mother. So how, for a moment here, stop being a child psychologist and be a psychologist for the mother, and what would you tell her? How would you soothe her?
Go with the flow. Ride the tide. It is what it is. And
And this
And
happens to everyone, right?
everyone. And during all of these phases, what is one common thread that is going to help you navigate
Right.
through all of these phases is connection. Your connection with your child. Forget everything, forget all the jazz, everything that I told. Just focus on connecting with your child in simplest moments, in the most difficult moments, sitting with your child, being for your child, not doing anything, not being anything,
Right.
just your calm presence. Can you do that? If you can do that, you can give your calm presence to your child.
Without lecturing and without saying, I know how to do this, or like, you
Yeah.
know, without.
If you can do that, you really have 150% of the game by your calm presence.
Right.
And let us understand, my teen brain is craving autonomy, is looking for identity, wants dopamine rush, is hyper sensitive because emotional brain is so hyperactive. And in all of this process, as a parent, all I need to do is just stay with my child and make my child realize that you get your privacy, you get your respect. There are certain rules, there are certain rituals, there are certain values that this family holds. You stick by that, you respect that, you honor that, and we are with you. So, all of these things, as a parent, it is so important that you stop the role of being a helicopter parent who's constantly hovering over your child's head, and you take up the role of the ambulance parent. That I'm only there when there is SOS. I'm there for you. Rest, you figure it out, bacha. I trust you.
Right.
I have given you the roadmap, I've given you the blueprint. Now it's the ball is in your court. Play your game. There's anything, first aid, ambulance is right here for you.
Right.
That kind of assurance when my child gets that, oh, you know what, I can always fall back on my family. They're always going to come back to you.
Wow, I think we've had an extremely enlightening session. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you.